not even convinced this microphone really helps. I'm so soft spoken. I'm telling you, no, well, I plan on making a video about like, cause it's right at a year since I moved out to halfway house. Uh, it's crazy. I moved out and moved into that hotel for 2 weeks, and my roommate after the first week was like, "Man, you ain't gotta stay at the hotel that long, dude. Like, that room's ready whenever." I was like, "I need another week to decompress from the halfway house." And it's like I need much. I'm just now shaking up so much still, but there's a channel Cyber Young that I've seen, stumbled across a while back, and just like I don't know, I'm weird. It spoke to me. I like it. Whatever. Uh, it's. I think it's part of the whole CPSD, PTSD thing. Like everything makes me cry anymore, but also uh, I get like fiercely protective over like the most random things. Uh, she's well, I assume I should probably look, but they're such a small person. I immediately was like very protective. Whatever. I'm weird. As far as that goes, like I didn't know that the whole guys out here cyber stalking with meta classes was. I mean, I had heard of it here, and I didn't know it was a full on thing. And in the comment sections of the couple things I've seen talking about it, like I, I don't know, people probably think I'm virtue signaling, but like they don't know that I got kicked out of high school twice for standing up for people that I had nothing to do with. Uh, so like it, I mean, the comment basically is like, don't let me catch somebody out doing that. Like if I'm out in public and I see a guy doing that, I'm at the least calling him on it. Like I'm gonna make it super obvious what they're like. They're gonna stop. But that said, she had posted a video, or they, Cyber Yanu, had posted a video a couple days ago that I just now saw talking about their entry into a shelter. And I mean, it's a public video, so it's not like you know, but it's talking about their documenting their experience going through homelessness and like where I've been through it so much. Of course, like, and I didn't realize that's what the video was about actually, but this specifically is extended to Cyber Yanu specifically, with you being so young and presenting, especially because you, I mean, the little bit I've seen, you seem very docile. That's the thing. Advocate for yourself seriously, but also where you present as probably a fairly easy fix, they will love you at like shelters and places. Like, be careful because they may not, as backwards as this sounds, they may not be in a hurry to get rid of you because the way those systems work, every time, like every social security number that is in a bed is how they get paid. And person that's there that's compliant, that's easy to get along with. It's like me personally, I clean like if I'm nervous or anything. So anytime I've ever been in any kind of situation like that, I ended up helping staff. Like I made myself useful. Uh, they like having me around. Uh, and as far as that goes, like I always looked at it like at the time I was always one of the younger people there, things like that. So I would always, like kind of look at it like I deserved help less, maybe. As far as that goes, as an able-bodied dude, that's a whole different experience, and I know that for a fact. Like there were years that I was homeless, and the social workers and whatnot here where I live, like got to know me and got to know like I'm actually a pretty stand-up person. Uh, and I had on more than one occasion, more than one social worker of various degrees flat out tell me, like, dude, if you were a female, there's so much that you would be eligible for. But because you're a dude and you're not a felon, like, you're a bit of a screw up, but you ain't been in enough trouble. Like, felons, there's all kinds of programs for them. But if you're just a screw up on regular misdemeanor probation, there's nothing, you got nothing coming. Like, I've never even done enough jail time to like get a cut on my child support. Like they've never put a break on that because I've never served enough jail time in one stretch for it to matter. Uh, but now my point is, I've been told by several social workers, like, oh, if you were a female, there is so much we could do for you. And back during COVID, I was in Kentucky on the run from up here, and was dating a girl from down there that I knew from high school and whatnot. But she, oddly enough, after high school, uh, she'd come up here and had kids with a guy up in Inkster. They were split up, but he had the kids up here. And there was some like, she didn't have a leg to stand on, really. So, like, she couldn't even really push the issue like she wanted to fight for custody. She was not in the position. She was staying here and there. It was just one, like, and the baby daddy wasn't being like super aggressive about things, but like realistically, like it was one of those like you gotta make me pull your card. When I towards the end of COVID, when I came back up here to turn myself in and get myself straightened around legally and whatnot, I had told her I was like, if because we were things were rocky, but I was like, yo, if you want to tag along and whatnot, like I'm gonna have to go turn myself in, but first little bit that we're up there, I can get us into the shelter, and they will get you squared away. Like you're very, and like I've always said, like when it comes to anything like that, like be it food stamps, insurance, whatever, there's an application process, and if you can fill out that application process without like lying, committing fraud, then you're the person that program is for. I was too prideful to go even look into stuff for a long time and literally made things harder on myself than they ever had to be. And again, in my case, that was really frustrating. In my specific case, there really wasn't as much available to me as people a lot of times assumed. Because, like, when I was at the halfway house, I got sick of telling people, like, they would recommend there's a program here called MCOP that like if you're a parolee or even just a felon, there's a lot available. Especially though, if you're an active parolee, they'll buy you, they'll give you a $500 voucher to go to the bike shop that's been here since like the 30s. It's like a Monroe institution. But yeah, they'll give you like a 500. It's literally a $500 voucher for the bike shop. Uh, This time I wasn't even eligible for the $70 clothing voucher from Michigan Works because like I hadn't been on probation or anything in so long, and they would not believe that it's a halfway house. They thought for sure I was actually on probation for something awful, and just would not admit it. Like that wasn't soul crushing, but no, my ex with the kids in Inkster, I told her I was like, here's the thing, your very specific situation. You ain't gotta lie about nothing or anything. Just tell them. No, nothing extra, just the truth. That look, you're trying to come up here, whether we're dating or not. You're trying to come up here and get your kids back in your life and whatnot. You really ain't got nothing going on down here in Kentucky. You figure you may as well, like, homeless is homeless. You may as well come up here and try to see, you know, you can flat tell them, I told you there was probably more help up. I know there's more help here than there is in southeastern Kentucky as far as that goes. Dude, they loved that girl because as soon as they met her, they were like, oh, you check all the right boxes. You will be an easy success. She didn't have a drug problem. She didn't have a criminal background. None of that. The kids weren't actually took for her from her being some kind of problem or whatever. It was gonna be easy, and they need success stories on their records. They can't just be housing people and nobody ever doing nothing positive. They need some success stories to point to and be like, that's why we exist. We act measurable positive impact. Here you go, case story. They had this girl. We were there about 3 weeks before I got turned in and whatnot. Got myself turned in, squared away. She, I had to sit for about a month because it was the tail end of COVID. I had to go through quarantine in county jail and some other things. I had to sit about a month before I went to the program they sent me to. By the time I hit the program, they had her a job. I ended up getting sentenced to 120 days in that program. Before I was out of that program, she had a Section 8 voucher in hand. Wasn't on the waiting list or nothing. It was, she's at the shelter going to work, and they're like, hey, when you have a day off, we can take you to go look at places, and you can figure out which one is going to be closest to your work that we've got you. It had been less than 4 months. Now, part of that was it was the tail end of COVID, and there was just incredible amounts of funding slushing around. We had been put up in a hotel, like the shelter thing didn't pan out. But or no, the hotel was first. Not gonna lie, we I screwed around for like a month because we were able to get put up in a hotel again. Didn't lie about nothing. All that took was a friend of mine whose couch we had been sleeping on. Straight wrote a letter saying like, yeah, they're homeless. They're sleeping on our couch. Here you go. Take that to MCOP. And that's it. At the end of COVID, there was funding like that. Like, that had nothing to do with being a felon or nothing. But no, Laura got, eh, yeah, well, whatever, not, no last name. My ex got hooked up. Now, the thing about it is, she never believed it that it was going to go that smooth. Like when we were in Kentucky and I told her how it was going to go, she did not believe it. She didn't come up here because she believed it. So when she got up here and all of it actually came to fruition and all of a sudden became real, you're about to actually have to be a mom again. She went back to Kentucky, actually called a charge for some kind of crazy. But my point is, those places like shelters, halfway houses, uh, psych wards, anything like that, be so careful. Um, there's a really good study that's been done about like once you're in, especially psych wards, once you're in there, there is no behavior you can present that will not or that couldn't potentially be written off as a mental health issue. If they decide they want to keep you in those kind of programs, they kind of can, whether it's by gaslighting. When I left the halfway house last year, this place was falling apart. The program director, who it was named after, had full on relapsed. The whatever the next the guy that ran the house, because by that there were three houses, two of them got shut down, not quite back to back because one was able to circle the drain a little longer, but we went from three houses to two in a matter of like a month and a half. Two of them, the bills weren't getting paid, but there were guys there paying their program fees. They were collecting funding from the state, and the one house that they rented, they got evicted from. The homeowner took him to court, and dude didn't even show up. So I'm telling, because he had been renting that house and using it for a halfway house for like 15 years that I know of, and had always been a stand up dude. So like, I wonder how deep in debt they let him get before they had to take him to court. And like I said, he was getting funding and everything from the state and wasn't using it to pay for the bills. Uh, and the rest of the lady that's supposed to inspect the houses for Mara, uh, her husband originally started this program, was this dude's sponsor and whatnot. So like she, I think is a silent partner, but like her husband founded the place. She got certified to do the inspections and was doing the inspections. And when her husband died, this guy that I'm talking about took over, and that just carried on this weird incestuous thing. She came last April talking about she knew he had relapsed and they were going to have to get him help or he could not be head of a recovery home. It's in the Mora Charter, blah, 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 blah. It went on for months after that. When I left last June, the uh, the next step down from the program director, uh, the dude that ran like the actual day to day or whatever, he would come and do our Thursday and Friday house meetings. He came to a Thursday house meeting flat said, well, I didn't get paid this week and my bank account's going to be overdrawn and some of y'all that haven't been paying your program fees and whatnot, I need to collect at least $650 tomorrow in program fees. And I'll tell you now, that's going to be my paycheck. And uh, if I don't get that much, it doesn't make sense for me to keep doing this. And dude, he didn't. It's crazy because of people's work schedules. There was a noon and a 6 o'clock house meeting Thursdays and Fridays. You had to hit one on Thursday and one on Friday. There was a noon and a 6 on each day. You didn't have to do both, but you had to catch one of the Thursdays, one of the Fridays. You couldn't do both on Thursday or whatever. Uh, he said that at the Thursday meeting, he comes to the Friday noon meeting. I worked at the time. I was planning on paying at the 6 o'clock Friday meeting that I always go to. By that time, he had already came to the noon meeting, got whatever he got, cleared out the office, took the receipt book. Now, it ain't his business. The receipts are never actually made out to him or anything. He just signs that you paid to the name of the. I still got receipts. Uh, Takes the receipt book. And this is another house that they just rent. The homeowner ends up coming in. This like early June, or no, this may have been May even, because it went on for, yeah, it was May. The homeowner comes in. There's disputes about who had or hadn't paid program fees. Our house manager flat told me, because I was planning on leaving anyway and was pretty open about it. He was like, "Dude, if I was you, I'd quit paying and just wait till they tell me, till they kick you out over non-payment, and just save your money up." And I was like, "Dude, I'm getting the hell out of here. It is too hectic." But yeah, the program director, dude, takes off with the receipt book. There are guys that basically say they feel like they got robbed, because there's like, that's basically your rent. There's guys that are like, "Yo, I paid my rent, but now the homeowner could show up and be like, because like, dude didn't take our money and go do what he was supposed to with it. We don't know what's happening now." We're, and like, mind you, this is a house full of addicts that just watched two other houses full of addicts get shut down. Some of them got absorbed into the one house that stayed open. But for the most part, those guys just went to the winds. One of them just died. Like, he owed me $30 from when everything went sideways. I just found out over the weekend. He just died, and he's like at least the third of people I lived with in that house last year that have died since I left. It's insane. So like, these places may act like they care about you, and they may not mind you being around, but they don't care about you. And like, be very careful, even with the people you meet there, even the good ones. Be so careful getting close to them, because you hear me. I, three people, and the one that owed me money, I'm not complaining. Like, he tried to pay me, and I was like, "Dude, you're not in the position." Like, because we had been in the halfway house together. He was working at the time. He had borrowed like $60, paid it back, and like 2 days later had to borrow it again. The next week went to do the same thing. And I was like, "Dude, just pay me, like, it's cool. I'm not sweating you." He had paid 30 of it. And I was like, "Yo, it's for real." Like I said, "I'm not sweating you, man." So he looked out for me years ago, before I was with Randa and all that. Uh, and I don't forget stuff like he looked out for me on a day when I was going through it. And he didn't even really know me like that at that time. At that time, I was just some kid going through it, basically. He's like, "Don't you run around da 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 da. I'm sick." And he, well, here, and gave me some meds. And that dude's dead now. And at least part of that is because the place where he has always been able to go and get himself together and be safe, the bottom fell out. And the ones that should be there to make sure that don't happen, and this, they're covering for each other. Like, it's a bad time to be in the system, I think. Um, that sucks. So yeah, just try to be aware, advocate for yourself. People always say, like, in those kind of environments, like, "Oh, you don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You're there for you." Like, what other people are doing doesn't affect you. So I don't. And I mean, I know the video was from like 7 months ago, and the first video I'd seen of Cyber was, they've gotten, it seems, more stable and whatnot. Um, these things often tend to be in cycles. So if you do end up in like a group facility ish, advocate for yourself, try to stay in your own lane, remind yourself that like, you're the only thing you really have control over. How you respond to things, um, all of that, because it matters. and be very careful because it's super easy to end up in a place where you're not in control of yourself anymore because what somebody has written down somewhere. Like, if you need to learn some grounding techniques, whatever, rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT, and cognitive behavioral therapy, they're kind of two sides of this. There's a whole thing there. Like the two guys that founded them, like, worked together and then split ways because one was felt the other was too like harsh. The harsher one works better for me. Uh, but those are the things that really helped me a lot were like REBT and CBT. Uh, Also, like, not gonna lie, I finally found a medication regimen, whatever, that actually works. Uh, I was very fortunate on that. I didn't have to like cycle through a lot of things. I didn't try any psych meds till kind of late in life. I'd been white knuckling it to a large degree, and my doctor took you know, he actually asked me if I'd had any problems with racing thoughts, and I was like, "Have you met me?" And but I immediately was like, I also have like a history of drug abuse, addiction, whatever. And even in my addiction, I didn't like benzos like that. They are problematic for I think most people, but definitely me. Like they never do what they're supposed to. I never end up like just going like chilling out and going to bed or nothing. Like I really am like that mean like Xanax gonna tell me to go fight somebody. So I immediately was like, when he asked about like something to calm racing thoughts, I was like, I don't, and he was like, no, 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 nothing like that. And I intend to do a whole video about like I have a policy of transparency. Uh, it's Depakote. Uh, as far as psych med, I'm also prescribed Suboxone. But the Depakote, I'm dead serious. Like almost immediately, I noticed like, oh, it's doing the heavy like. I actually way adjusted down my Suboxone because of it. Like that was, and I don't think they had to. I have looked. That's a thing. The Depakote seemed to work so well that I didn't even like. I didn't want to jinx it and like learn about it. I was like, it seems it because when he prescribed it, it was during the couple weeks where my mom was dying. Uh, I didn't want to jinx it. I needed something that helped, and it seemed like it did. Uh, if you find yourself in those kind of places, take what you can from it. There's usually something. Well, there's always something. You're always like that's something I learned a long time ago. Is like in any situation, if it's that bad, try to ask myself like, what am I supposed to take from it? If it's that bad, then it probably feels like a punishment, and it's like literally what I do to deserve this. But find a way to get through it. Find a way to take what you can from it. That self advocacy, I cannot say that enough because I'm pretty sure I kept myself kind of in the system. Because like I was gonna say when I left that halfway house, I was saying all that not to trash it, but to give an example of how bad it was getting. And I was open about like I'm gonna leave. The homeowner kind of took over as like running the halfway house, and he's a whole personality disorder. Like was tied up with all kinds of federal crimes back in the day and whatnot. I mean, like got caught with like millions of dollars in pills and just crazy stuff. But he's like super institutionalized. And when he found out I was leaving, uh, and like I've been in jail and whatnot, it was like the weirdest, like trying to press me and then trying to like gaslight me into like, are you sure you're ready to leave? And then like pulled me aside and like almost tried to like it wasn't an intimidation thing, but it was along those lines because he was like, well, if there's a a problem with somebody or something like that, you can tell me. We want to see you do good. And I mean, I hate to think you because when I left, like I said, I was going to a hotel for a couple of weeks, and I won't lie, it's a little cheap hotel that is kind of known here in Monroe. There's a few. The one I go to isn't the worst, and actually they've tightened it up there. But it ain't great. He tried to play it off like concern, but it wasn't that. He was trying to gaslight me into thinking I wasn't ready to leave. And I hate to say it, but in that situation, whether I was ready or not, I was leaving. And what's crazy is part of it, uh, a couple days before I left, dude that just died, they did him dirty. And I didn't agree with that, and I didn't want to have that conversation. I wasn't compelled to have that conversation anymore. I didn't feel like it would have mattered. Uh, so yeah, places like that, if you're easy to get along with, clean up after something as simple as that. You clean up after yourself. You're not loud. You don't ask for much. You're a model client, and they're not gonna want because they don't know what's coming in the door after you. And places like that, typically there's so much of a need. There's like a waiting list. So the second you leave, some that bed's getting taken, and the odds are it's not going to be a model client like myself or whatever. Like odds are it's going to be someone coming in from the streets, coming in hot, especially this day and age. It's so like where I live is so bad. It's got to the point I don't even because like I do everything on foot. I mean, my roommate will let me, tag along on the weekends to go grocery shop or whatever. But like, I like to get out on my own. Uh, but it it breaks my heart because like 90% of the time you go to Kroger here, there's usually the same handful of people, and it's got to the point they've started running them off. But like, that doesn't make me feel any better. Like, oh, we'll get them out of sight. Like, dude, and it's a complex situation because I was one of them. I've talked about that. There's a channel called Woke Karen, I believe, was the one that did, yeah. He did a video about like they're calling them mole people and using homeless people for sources of content. Some of them are like in the guise of kindness. Some of them aren't. Uh, but I had commented on that video about I've gotten myself off of the streets, and now I'm like a functional, upstanding, like visible member of society in the same community where I was have been very visibly homeless, and it's weird, and it's weird. I should edit that out, but as Cyber Yamu, like I had nothing prepared, and I didn't think this would be this long. Getting to be daylight out. I'm gonna end this. I make notes at work, and there's some other things I wanted to actually talk about. I hope that helps. I hope it doesn't come off weird. It probably does, but it again, I have like really severe complex PTSD, and everything makes me cry, and I'm super protective and high strung lately. The the this whole current climate keeps me on guard. Eh, it'll get better, I think. I think.